Hey, welcome to today's English lesson. In today's lesson, we are going to break down a real English conversation. I'm going to teach you the words and expressions that were used during the conversation so that you can start speaking like a native English speaker. Are you ready? Well then, I'm Teacher Tiffani. Let's jump right in. Now, the conversation actually happened between me and my friend Stuart, and we were discussing crime. So I want you to pay close attention to how we speak during the conversation. Now, this is a short clip. Let's watch clip number 1. Pay close attention.
So, is there violence in America? Yes. Is that something that you necessarily have to worry about when you're here? Yeah, it's in the back of your mind. You got to be alert. And you got to be smart. But now that we're having some kind of constraints, I'll kind of shift gears, and I'll say that the most common crime in America, I would say, is what you would consider white collar crime, and for lack of a better term, that's the big guy screwing over the little guy.
All right, now that was a short portion of our conversation, but there were so many new words and expressions. Now, I don't want you to worry because I'm going to explain each and every one of them and help you use them so that you can sound like a native English speaker. So let's get started with the first one. Now, the first part of the conversation. In the first part, Stuart, my friend, said this. Is that something that you necessarily have to worry about when you're here? Yeah. It's in the back of your mind. Now repeat after me. In the back of your mind. Good. Again, in the back of your mind. Excellent. Now, what does this actually mean? In the back of your mind. Here we go. You can actually say in or at the back of your mind. And if something is at or in the back of your mind, you intend to do it, but are not actively thinking about it right now. For example, let's say you're going to work, right? And you're working hard all day, but when you get home, you have to make dinner for your family. So all throughout the day, it's at the back of your mind, the fact that you have to cook for your family. Makes sense, right? So we use this all the time. Now let's check out this example sentence. Here we go. It's been at the back of my mind to call Jose for several days now, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. So again, I'm gonna call Jose. I know I need to call him, but I haven't done it just yet, but I'm still thinking about it. It's at or it's in the back of my mind. This is something I want you to start using. Now, the next part of the conversation, he actually said this. You gotta be alert and you gotta be smart. Again, you gotta be alert and you gotta be smart. So after me, be alert. Good. Again, last time, be alert. Excellent. Now, what does be alert actually mean? So, be alert just means quick to notice any unusual and potentially dangerous or difficult circumstances, or vigilant. Again, you're always ready. Just in case something happens, you are ready. Now, my dad, he was in the military for 30 years. That's right. He was in many of the wars that happened in the 90s and the 2000s. So my dad is always quick to act. He's aware of his surroundings. He's always alert. Makes sense, right? So maybe your dad or your mom, maybe they're very alert. Let's check out this example sentence. Here we go. An alert police officer discovered a truck full of explosives. Again, the police officer was aware of what was going on and looked around the truck and found the explosives. So again, we have be alert. Now, what about the third thing that happened in the conversation? This is what was said. But now that we're having some kind of constraints, I'll kind of shift gears. And I'll say that the most common crime in America, ... So after me, shift gears. Good. Again, shift gears. Excellent. Now, what does shift gears mean? Again, in the conversation, he said, I'll kind of shift gears. So shift gears actually, you heard that? Shift gears. It actually just means to start thinking or acting in a new way, especially more quickly than before. Now, this is something that I also use on a regular basis. For example, right now I'm teaching you English and I'm enjoying it, right? But maybe right after this class, I'll need to go and take care of some other things. So I'll have to shift gears. I'm in teacher mode right now, but right after this class, I need to take care of something that's not related to class. I'm going to have to shift gears. Makes sense, right? All right, so shift gears. Now let's check out the example sentence. We had to shift gears at the end of the year. We had to change the way we were thinking. We had to act in a new or a different way. Again, in English, we like to say shift gears. Great job. All right, now after he said this, he said something else that was very important. You see, Stuart said this. I'll say that the most common crime in America, I would say what you would consider a white collar crime. Again, after me, white collar crime. Excellent. Last time after me, white collar crime. Excellent. So white collar crime, this is something that we use on a regular basis during English conversations. So what is a white collar crime? You see, a white collar crime is a crime that typically involves stealing money from a company and is done by people in important positions. Again, a white collar crime. So it's something that a CEO or a business owner or someone really rich would do. Someone at a company, again, something that happens where money is stolen and usually from a company or within a company. We say those are white collar crimes. So what's an example sentence using this expression? We have this one. White collar crimes, are a big issue in America. Again, white collar crimes are a big issue in America. This is very true. White collar crimes happen all the time. And that's exactly why Stuart, during the conversation, mentioned white collar crimes being so prevalent or so abundant in America. White collar crimes. Now, the next thing that Stuart said that was also very interesting after he said white collar crimes was this right here. He said, as you know, for lack of a better term, that's the big guy screwing over the little guy. After me, screwing over the little guy. Good. Last time, screwing over the little guy. Excellent. Now you're probably wondering, teacher, what does screwing over the little guy actually mean? So when we use this expression, this is what we're meaning. It means to treat someone unfairly or to cheat or swindle someone, kind of like taking their money. And again, remember he said white collar crimes, those in powerful positions taking money from the company. Well, that means the employees will be affected. Screwing over the little guy. This is why we use this in English. So let's check out the example sentence. They tried to screw them over. Again, screw them over. Now I want to let you know this. Again, this expression, even though it's used during English conversations, you need to be careful because screwing someone over, sometimes it can be not the best expression to use in a professional environment. It's more for conversations between friends. Notice how Stuart said, for lack of a better term. He knew that, hey, this may not be the best expression, but it matches what we're talking about. So again, be careful not to use this in a professional environment. All right, so screwing someone over. Now, real quick, I want to remind you, if you want to improve your English pronunciation, I'm teaching you how to say these things. Don't forget to download my app, English with Tiffani. The link is right in the description, and I have a ton of lessons helping you to actually pronounce words better. So download the app. The link is in the description. Now, we've understood now how to use screw someone over and also the other expressions. So let's check out that clip one more time now that you understand all the expressions, and then we'll go to the next one. Here we go. Listen closely.
So, is there violence in America? Yes. Is that something that you necessarily have to worry about when you're here? Yeah, it's in the back of your mind. You got to be alert. You got to be smart. But now that we're having some kind of constraints, I'll kind of shift gears, and I'll say that the most common crime in America, I would say, is what you would consider white collar crime, and for lack of a better term, that's the big guy screwing over the little guy.
Now it all makes sense, right? Now you understand everything that Stuart was saying before because you understand all of the expressions. This is what happens when you pay attention to real English conversations. But now I want us to kind of break down the conversation. Let's analyze it a little bit. You see, what Stuart was doing was rephrasing. In this part of the conversation, Stuart is giving more details about his response. He first says his answer and then rephrases it to make sure his words have been clearly understood. This is something that is very important to English fluency. When you're having a conversation, you can state your answer or give your response, but you don't stop there. You want to make sure the person listening understands, so you say it a different way. For example, I love vegan ice cream. No, I have it on a regular basis. I love the flavors. I'm rephrasing what I said and giving you more information. Rephrasing is very important when you're trying to have an English conversation. So here are things to remember. Remember these 3 things when you are trying to clearly express your opinion. Number 1, state your opinion. You want to make sure that everyone knows what you're saying first and foremost. After you stated your opinion, number 2, restate your opinion using different words. This is where your vocabulary is going to be important. You want to use different words to say the same thing. Finally, number 3, make sure that you restate your opinion using simpler words. This is where all the words you've learned, even the easy words, will come into play and you'll be able to use them. So again, number 1, state your opinion. Number 2, restate your opinion using different words. And number 3, make sure that you restate your opinion using simpler words. This is very important. Now, I want us to check out the second short clip from the conversation I had with Stuart. Still discussing crime, so I want you to pay close attention. Here we go.
So many lower class Americans are being taken advantage of by these by people that have it, like people that don't need to take advantage of them. There are people some of the hardest working people are getting less for their work, the least for their work. And then on top of that, their pockets are literally being stolen from. You look at a scenario like Enron. These people work for this company, and the guy who ran the company literally pocketed their retirement, and he was just like, "Yep, sorry guys, your money's gone." He does a short little stint in jail, and he still gets to keep that money.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, these people that have worked for this company, regular people like you and me, they're straight out of luck. That's going to change their life. That's life-changing for them.
Now you see, in this part of the conversation, Stuart gave more information. But again, there were so many things brought up during this part of the conversation and so many new words and expressions. So I want us to dive deeper into the words and expressions that Stuart actually used. So let's start with the first one. Here we go. Stuart said this during the conversation. So many lower class Americans are being taken advantage of by people that have it, you know? So again, after me, lower class. Good. Again, last time, lower class. Excellent. So what does lower class actually mean, and why do we use it during English conversations? So lower class refers to the economic group with the least wealth and power in society. So again, basically the individuals that don't have power, or for lack of a better term, the poor people. Another word for poor people or that group is lower class. So let's see an example sentence using this expression. He claims his flat tax proposal would help middle class and lower class Americans. So we're seeing again, this expression lower class is used in many different situations. And I want you to be able to use it as well when you speak with another English speaker. So what about this one? The next thing that not Freddie, that's another one of my friends, but Stuart said is right here. Take advantage of something. So he said, so many lower class Americans are being taken advantage of by people that have it, you know? So again, he said, being taken advantage of. Good. One more time after me, last time. Being taken advantage of. Excellent. So what does being taken advantage of actually mean? This just means if someone takes advantage of you, they treat you unfairly for their own benefit, especially when you are trying to be kind or to help them. So I want you to think about this situation. You know, in school, you have some kids that enjoy getting good grades and some kids that don't care, right? So imagine a scenario where there's one individual and he's super smart. And then one of the athletes in class that hates studying and only focuses on sports comes up to him and punches him in his shoulder and says, hey, listen, you're going to take my tests for me and you better not complain. Now, the boy looks up and realizes the athlete is very big and he's so small. The athlete was taking advantage of this young boy. He knew that he was smaller than him. Makes sense, right? So how can we use this in a sentence? Here we go. She took advantage of him even after they were divorced. So you see, this is very commonly used in real life, in real English conversations. And I want you to start using it so that you can sound more like a native English speaker. Now, there's something else that he said. Here's the next thing. He does a short little stint in jail and he still gets to keep that money. So after me, stint. Good. Again, stint. Excellent. Last time, stint. Very good. So what does this word stint mean? Again, because he used it during the conversation. So stint is a period of time which you spend doing a particular job or activity or working in a particular place. So, for example, I lived in South Korea for about 10 years. So my stint in Korea was about 10 years. You see what happened, right? The time period, the amount of time I spent in South Korea. So in English, we say stint. Now let's check out an example sentence. Here we go. He is returning to this country after a 5-year stint in Hong Kong. Makes sense, right? You caught that he was there for 5 years. Now, what about this one? He then said this, Stuart, during the conversation, he said, they're out of luck. After me, out of luck. Good. Last time after me, out of luck. Excellent. So out of luck is something, again, that native English speakers use very often. So what does out of luck actually mean? It means having bad fortune or experiencing a misfortune. Hey, you're out of luck. we can't help you. Again, you know, in America, if you're trying to get into college, colleges are extremely expensive in America. If you want to go to university or to a college, you need to have a lot of money saved. So many people get loans or try to get scholarships. But if you're not able to find a scholarship or a loan, you're out of luck. Now, here's the example sentence. I think you are out of luck. Makes sense, right? Okay, so I want us to look now at this last one right here. Again, we just looked at out of luck. This is something, again, that Stuart used during the conversation. So now you understand all the expressions. Let's take a look at the clip one more time now that you know the meanings. Here we go. Pay attention.
So many lower class Americans are being taken advantage of by these by people that have it, you know, that, like people that don't need to take advantage of them. You know, there are people like, you know, some of the hardest working people are getting less for their work, the least for their work. And then on top of that, you know, their pockets are literally being stolen from. You look at a scenario like Enron. These people work for this company, you know, and like the guy who ran the company literally pocketed their retirement. And he was just like, yep, sorry guys, like, you know, like your money's gone. He does a short little stint in jail and he still gets to keep that money. Yeah. And meanwhile, these people that have worked for this company, regular people like you and me, they're straight out of luck. That's going to change their life. You know, that's life-changing for them.
Now you understand, right? You understood the whole conversation from that clip, right? Because you understand the expressions that were used and the words. But I want us to break down the conversation and analyze. You see, what happened during that conversation? Here we go. Stuart gave a real-life story or example. In this part of the conversation, Stuart starts to talk about Enron. Now, Enron, you can check online. That was a really bad situation. So he gives details about the owner and the employees in order to prove his point about the lower class being treated in an unfair way. Now, this is something very commonly done during an English conversation. You give a real story or a real example, and that helps the listener follow along more, and it shows your English fluency. So I want you to remember these things right here. Things to remember. This rule when you are giving your opinion or story. Always tell a connecting story that will help people understand the reality of what you are saying. It's so important to support what you are saying. This is what English fluency and mastering English conversations is all about. Now, I really hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Remember, this lesson was to help you start sounding like a native English speaker. All right? Now, remember, I want you to keep studying with me. All you have to do is go to www.letsjumprightin.com. I have over 365 days of English lessons ready for you. Enroll now and join thousands of students from around the world. All right, I hope you enjoyed the lesson. I'll talk to you next time. But as always, remember to speak English. You still there? You know what time it is. It's story time. Hey, I said it's story time. All right, so for today's story time, I'm actually going to tell you a story related to crime and violence. Don't worry, it wasn't me. All right, so I have always had a passion for helping homeless people. When I was in Korea, I helped homeless people, and every place I've been, I've always been focused on helping homeless people. When I was in college, living in Alabama, in Maryland, DC, I always wanted to help homeless people. So I remember when I was in Korea, I started this program where once a month we would go out and help these homeless people living in a certain area. And one day, instead of going with my friends, I decided to go by myself because I wanted to make sure everything was prepared for when we came a few weeks later. And among the homeless people, there was one guy. He was known as the guy in charge. really tall, big guy, looked really strong. But he and I really got close. Now remember, I spoke Korean, so we were able to talk to each other. And we had many great conversations. He was really a great guy. So I remember one day I went and I was just having a good conversation with him. And during our conversation, all of a sudden we heard a commotion, some loud noises behind us. And we looked and there were a group of guys and they were arguing and they were all very drunk. Now I immediately got a little bit nervous because, again, as a female, I was by myself. I was a foreigner. Even though I spoke Korean, I wasn't Korean. I was the one that was odd in the whole situation. So the guy was standing next to me, again, the guy in charge, and he said, "Don't worry, Tiff, I got this." So we stood there, and right in front of us, the men that were drunk started fighting. I mean, it got bad. They were punching. There was blood flying everywhere. And again, my initial reaction was to run and go away, but the tall guy held my arm and said, "Tiff, it's okay." And all of a sudden, with a big booming voice, he said, "Okay, come on, A." Now, come on, A just means it's time to stop. I said it in Korean, but it means stop. And immediately, everyone stopped. The fighting stopped. Everyone walked away. And the guy looked at me and said, "Tiff, I told you I got it. You're safe with me." And I never will forget that situation because, again, if someone was on the outside looking in, they would probably wonder, what is she doing there? But because I was with him, I was safe. I was protected. And from then on out, I started calling him the mafia leader. He didn't know I called him the mafia leader, but I said, this man can control anybody. And I felt safe. So even though crime is a reality, when you are with someone that can protect you, you don't have to worry. Maybe you've experienced something like this before with your family members protecting you or your friends, or maybe someone like the mafia leader protected you. I hope you enjoyed this short story, guys, and I hope you continue to improve your English. Remember, keep studying with me by going to www.letsjumprightin.com. The link is in the description, and I'll talk to you next time.